No, can't believe it's been 13. We were just talking about it, weren't we? So, yeah, absolutely. How are you feeling after all that, fella? Your hands, you got to show everybody your hands to prove that you're an IndyCar driver now. Look at that. Yes. Yeah, it kind of gets up really high, doesn't it? It gets in a weird position on top of the steering wheel, and when you use those grips, you've got like molded grips to help you get some bit more power on the steering wheel. But no, it was good. We can kind of give a bit of a rundown, and this is a review of the Indy GP, and we can preview a little bit about Road America as well.
Hold on.
See, there was no real.
Oh, great. Hold on, oh, one sec, Darren, my mic's not working. What have I done now? God. I can never get this darn thing right. Audio.
Oh, we're having
Every
problems
time.
with sound again.
Yeah, it's every time.
So you've got me, but not you, Dalton. All right. Well, I can keep. Oh, there you go. We got you back now.
We're back. Okay, I think I, I
It
think
was
I, I
only
think I
it
just
was,
had
it
it.
was only me talking BS anyway. So no, let's run through the weekend then. If everybody can hear you now and start. It was very difficult conditions. It was super hot. This was the first road course for the aero screen, and everybody was really concerned about the temperature inside the cockpit and the fatigue. Um, but and there was only an hour and 30 minutes practice and straight into qualifying, right?
Yeah, it was a busy weekend. Really tough conditions. I think the ambient temp was somewhere around, at least 95. You can see a good picture of me just totally sweaty in the car there.
Every picture of you getting out of the car of everybody was sweaty.
Yeah, but the real crux of it was just that, like you said, the aero screen, which is, brings a lot of really good advancements to safety and driver protection, but there's now some secondary consequences where we have ventilation issues, and we've actually got a blower on the side of the helmet to bring fresh air from the side of the screen, because you can honestly drive around with your visor open. I've heard that I guess on the broadcast, Graham had his visor open for a lot of the race.
Really, that's
Yeah,
great. Try to get some more air.
the thing is, you're sitting in the cockpit, right, and like there's the air is stagnant. It's so hot. You're in this. You can kind of see there's these little vents right here. You kind of right above
Right.
the number 14 there.
Yeah.
Those, they basically have like a air vent that points sort of at you. And like for the first few laps after a pit stop, when your body's, your heart rate's down and you're a little more recovered, it feels cool. But then your heart rate gets up, everything gets hot, and all of a sudden it's boiling hot again. So
Yeah, not much moving air compared to how it used to be without that screen for sure.
no.
And I guess it is sucking a little bit of air out, but yeah, just that picture right there reminds me of the extra effort that the red compound option tires gave. You're gonna
Mm-hmm.
talk a little bit about your first, because in practice we don't get any reds, right? It's straight at qualify. Oh, you get one
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 set of
set
the
at the
rookie,
end of
yeah.
practice. But yeah, that was pretty interesting the first time for you, I bet.
Yeah, it was pretty tough. That's a big adjustment, is having to deal with the two tire compounds in the feeder series. You don't have that with lights. So the difference in grip between the reds and the blacks, especially at Indy GP on the Indy road course, is substantial, and you really feel it in how deep you can brake and how much load there is in the steering wheel, and it's
Yeah.
like, especially full tanks. When you do a pit stop mid race and then put reds on and you go out and like in a high speed corner, just the load in the wheel is like unbelievable compared to what it is on black. So that's a huge adjustment. That was definitely one of the big things to get used to. Pictured here, pit stops. That was the next at least mentally for me going into the race weekend, pit stops are definitely something that I was. It was a big item that I wanted to tick off, right? And it was something that I was definitely thinking about and practicing in my head, because just that precision of trying to hit your marks there, is you have to be so precise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, going in, you can see we've got the big signboard. A couple of slides ago, we tried to develop a signboard system for you to hit with the nose of the car, and you practiced it all the time, right? Every time you came into the pits during practice, at Sebring and Coda and everything before, but nothing like your first race after you've just been racing with somebody. Kind of racing down pit lane as well. You've got to race into the blend line and the lane speed limit. And we after this weekend we've already seen where you're strong, where we need work on coming into the pits and going out of the pits, because it's all a racetrack. Everything's live. Like getting into the pit box, right, is part of trying to find
track position.
Yeah, exactly.
If you lose a second in pit lane, that's that, like, if you're on track and you lose a second, right? That's a big chunk of time, because you're usually looking for tenths. So to lose a second or whatever in pit lane is definitely it's easy gains that you can optimize pretty quick. So
and especially if you come in under yellow, which is a heavy circumstance in IndyCar, right? It happens all the time. You come in nose to tail with a line of 26 cars. and there half a second could be 1 or 2 spots for sure.
For sure.
Yeah, we're obviously wearing our face masks and practicing all the right social distancing. And you stayed in the motorhome all weekend, but still had to have your temperature taken all weekend. Every morning when we were going in, it was they did a good job. They've opened it up to fans of Road America, which will be interesting to see how they cope with that. But let's talk a little bit about your performance and how the weekend went. I felt it all went to plan. The team were very happy with you. You were on pace with Charlie the whole weekend. Your teammate Charlie Kimball, and sometimes faster, which was good. Which is always the first goal. So how did you feel?
Well, it was daunting coming into it, because practice was an hour and a half practice after 3 months out of a race car, and then right into qualifying. And we had a big test list of items we wanted to check off, and car stuff too, not just get Dalton comfortable with the car, but it was also like we want to test dampers and want to test aero and want to test suspension, and then there's stuff we want to do. So there's not much time just to kind of get in the car and get used to things. I was happy with how that first practice went. Kind of built up, progressively throughout the session. But yeah, it's definitely a big adjustment from the lights car. There's a lot more performance, but I think all that off-season work, doing simulator stuff, doing physical prep, and everything really paid off. And like I said, we were right there with Charlie in the 4 car, and that's kind of your first performance benchmark is always your teammate, and then obviously you're looking at the other cars, but you have to be kind of looking in-house first, and we were happy with how that went. The goal for the whole weekend really was maximize track time and don't make mistakes and kind of gain as much experience as I can as a rookie coming into it, and that's the overarching goal for your rookie year, but especially that first weekend with the fact that there's no testing
in this situation as well.
Yeah, so if you have an off early and you're out for practice and then you're ready to qualify, it's like you just can't afford to do that.
Well, look what happened, right? We can talk a little bit about what a situation that happened to us where you had the warm up where you're on full tanks and low pressures. We're going to try and do some race runs, and you just tagged the wall ever so slightly under braking into 12, I think it was. Very difficult corner for braking because there's a camber there, and you ran the rest of the session like it was no problem. But afterwards there was only maybe an hour or 2 before they needed to grid the cars, and they found a problem with a washer, and they had to change the steering rack, and they a bit of slight panic. They nearly didn't make it out to the race. But we can maybe talk about that after we've gone through a bit more. But no, it was good, right? And qualifying was good. It was very, very tight. I think the whole field was covered by a second.
Yeah.
and you were right there. With just a couple of tens would put you probably even in the top 15.
Yeah, and that's the thing with IndyCar competition. It is so tight. And before we do talk about qualifying, I want to run we have some clips from the NBC broadcast and practice here.
How about Dalton Kellett, the young rookie from Ontario, 26 years old, teammate to Charlie Kimball. And he has the most starts of anyone at this track. The interesting thing is, of course, being a lights racer from 16 to 19, he's got more starts than anybody. So a lot of experience on this track. But PT, you know, the jump from lights to IndyCars is a big deal. You've got to get it down pat. He's done very well so far, even the 14 online.
Yeah, absolutely, and really in not the best situation this year with everything that's been going on with COVID. There's been no testing. He's had no time in the car, so he's basically just jumping in there full
finally
turkey
seeing
as a
everybody
rookie.
back out on track.
Incredibly hard when you're
what was the feeling like when you were coming across guys? Because in practice, I mean, we don't even talk about the races yet, but like even
doing a good job
as a rookie. With some of the greats like Dixon and Power and all those guys, and you were mixing it with them. I mean, maybe now you can reflect on it a bit more.
Yeah, no, that definitely felt really good to be able to go out there and kind of be, mixing it in with them right off the bat. And like I said, guys like Will and Scott and all them have been basically doing IndyCar and kicking butt in IndyCar for longer than I've been racing, right? So it's it's a tall order to go in there and just try to get right in with them. But in practice, qualifying, race, was able to be competitive. Managed to hold Will behind me on one of the mill stints for a good number of laps. So that was a good confidence booster.
Definitely. We got some comments here.
I think Darren, we were just kind of chatting a little bit about the fact that we were just saying that while the video was playing, that people can't really hear us too well.
Okay, with the dual volume and things.
We'll let the video play next time and then talk after, I guess. But yeah, I think what were we saying? Just that the kind of mixing it in with all the other guys, right? That was kind of the.
And just being out there and doing the qualifying was very different. We'd gone in with a pretty good plan, and we've got so many sets of tires. There was a nice bonus for being a rookie this year, or there's a bonus for being a rookie with regards to you get an extra set of tires, so you can pound and do some more laps in those early sessions, and that kind of helped us because everybody had that very short time. But you had an extra set of tires to kind of help you up to speed, right? And I think it was close in qualifying, and you were close to out qualifying your teammate. Nicole, your girlfriend, she didn't understand how you were faster several other cars, but you weren't in front of them on the grid, with the way IndyCar works, and that's going to be something this weekend, right, with Road America.
Yeah, because and that's for people that are watching that don't know the way that they structure qualifying in IndyCar is that you have the times from practice, the even time. So if you're first and third and fifth and so on, you end up in Group 1, and if you're second, fourth, sixth, you end up in Group 2.
Yep. And
they, that's basically split down the middle, half the field in each group. They each get 12 minutes to qualify, and that gives you can probably do 2 runs of like 3 timed laps max during that time. And then the top 6 from those first 2 groups advance to the Fast 12, and then the top 6 from the Fast 12 advance to the Fast 6, or the top 12 advance to the Fast 6. And the way the groups worked out, even though I posted a quicker time than a couple guys in Group 1, I still was, I still qualified behind them because they were faster in their group.
Yes. Yeah, that first group, right, Dalton, the guys that don't advance, so there was 13 per group, right? So there was 6 that advanced, and the 7 behind, they were basically the inside row and the outside row.
Yeah,
the
so
problem was
position is 1 row, so it's really 2 spots.
Yeah,
which is kind of
and that's what's going to be at Road America with the limited amount of track time and the double header. Yeah. That's basically how it's going to be. You're going to have just 1 qualifying session. There's no Fast 6. There's no advancing to the Fast 12. Just wherever you qualify, there's going to be 13 in each group, right?
And that's the row you're in.
And that's the row that you're in, exactly. Yeah. So But so like you just said, every position in your group is 2 spots on the grid. So it's going to be tough, but it's very close. We're pretty happy with the car. We're going to advance it a bit. We've learned quite a bit over the weekend. I'm sure you felt like you've learned a lot as well, right?
Yeah, no, it was good. Thanks for the follow, generic tag, and Peter Baseball 99. So we're doing this D2 podcast show every week on Wednesday. So make sure you can tune in weekly for this. Sorry, just looking at the comments. So going back a few. Oh, the Maple Leaf mask is awesome. Where'd you get that? My mom actually picked that up somewhere in Stouffville, Ontario, where my parents live. So that's a Canadian item. Next to braking and pit stops, and obviously the aero screen. What was the biggest difference in the IndyCar, or the thing that surprised me the most? The biggest difference, I think, in the car itself, the tires, the Firestones are a much softer sidewall, higher grip because the stint lengths are lower, right? Because in Indy Lights, the race length for Indy Lights is probably an IndyCar stint and a half.
Yeah.
And let's say you'll do 3 stints in a race. So like
they try to budget the tires as well, where we had maybe 10 sets of tires for the week.
4 per weekend in the Lights.
4 per weekend in Indy Lights. It's a budget thing, right? Trying to keep the costs down in those junior formers, so the tires have to last longer, basically.
Yeah. And just the and for that reason, right? The tires in Light, the race tire is a harder compound, so just the way the car drives, you can be a lot more. You can ask more of the car, be a little more aggressive with it with the Firestones, even the harder alternate compound, just because they're a softer, higher performance, higher grip tire. So just all around the performance envelope of the car is quite a bit bigger. The thing that surprised me the most, I mean, it didn't surprise me, but the heat was a big shock, especially during the race. The drink system, you have a tube in your helmet to drink water, and it failed, so I didn't have water during the race, so that having to get through my first race without water in high heat was definitely difficult. Which to the question, Murphy Copper, did you lose weight after the race? Certainly did. I didn't weigh myself afterwards, actually, because by the time I got home, where my scale is, I had drank so much water.
About 5 gallons of water.
So I was still a couple pounds lighter than I would normally be, but I'm sure I drank a couple liters of water, right? And a liter of water is a kilogram, so.
And we can talk a little bit about that, right? Your preparation before the race. You're obviously one of the fittest guys out there. You work out with a lot of the guys, Rossi, Hinchcliffe, Dixon, and the same guys at Pitfit, and they provided you a great. You had to keep checking back on your notes.
Hydration plan from
hydration plan.
Training, and basically what that was they kind of gave me a schedule built around the race schedule that was, say for wake up, drink 24 ounces of water, and then an hour before qualifying, drink 16 ounces with a certain drink mix, and then during the session, drink this drink mix. So because we had basically they're partnered with Infinite Nutrition. They do custom hydration and protein blends for the PitFit guys. So we had a hydration mix, which is basically like an electrolyte, like if you're familiar with Hammer Nutrition, like a Heed, or just like a Gatorade, and then an endurance blend, which has a bit more, a little bit more carb to it, so a bit more substance to kind of last you throughout the race. And that plan was so critical.
Oh, I'm sure if you weren't as prepared as you were with that, just like everything else that we've done and you've done, and be prepared for is, with the, there was like we talked about a little bit before for anybody who's just joining us. They had a little problem with the car, and they were kind of super rushed with the tight time schedule to get to the grid, and they forgot to plug in the drinks bottle and the radio as well. I don't want to put the team down too much, but these aren't mechanical issues, and you were able to still race, and you heard us most of the time, right, on the timing stand.
I could hear on pit lane, but that like most the rest of the lap I couldn't hear, but on the pits I could. So during, what happened was during one of the yellows, Scott Harner, the race strategist, called me in, and I just didn't hear it. And then I'm driving down pit lane, and I see everyone kind of lined up waiting for me. And then I think I saw, pretty sure it was you. I saw you were like doing this, like coming in.
We were all hanging.
Everyone's waving.
There's Arnold on the pit wall at the top left picture. That's me, and we were all like, "Come in before you run out of fuel." We were trying. I think your dad was even down at turn 1 in his isolated area that he was allowed to be in, and he was even trying to get you in. But you had an alarm on your dashboard, and you were coming in anyway, I think, weren't you?
Yeah, and so that thing is on the steering wheel, on the dash. It has an estimate of how many laps you have left at your given fuel state, and then once you reach a certain threshold, an alarm will flash, and it basically says like pit now. So that's great information to have. And Scott did some good problem solving, and basically said, okay, Dalton, if you can hear me, move one of your anti-roll bars, because they have sensors on them, so they can see if I move it. So that was a good way to kind of get the communication going back and forth. So some good on the fly thinking there.
We were talking about everything, and the timing stand has got there's 3 engineers. There's Scott Harner. There's a Chevy guy dedicated to you, a data guy, analyst guy, so like the computer guy if anything kind of breaks and goes down, and then there was myself, and normally there would be AJ on your stand as well. So he'll be back at the 500. So it's a cramped timing stand, but it gelled really well. You were talking about
working together great.
Yeah, we were talking about your weekend and your performance throughout the whole weekend, and there was no egos on that timing stand. We all talked. I could put in a little bit of input. I didn't try to talk too much, but Scott and I and the engineers had discussions all the time. It worked really well, and leaving you out or pulling you into the pits, which tires to put on. When do we give you a drink bottle? That was a big discussion as well. In that yellow flag stop, we gave you a drink bottle. Didn't we talk about that one?
Yeah, which was kind of funny. So we had a bit of margin during that yellow stop because we were at the back of that lap. So even if we were a little slower on the stop, we weren't going to lose track position. So they handed me the drink bottle when I came in, and I just chugged it. And, had like a little small straw.
It was like a squeezy bottle,
like a squeeze bottle type thing, yeah. And the instructions were to throw it out of the cockpit, but you're so much going on. I just kind of I placed it on top of the aero screen. I kind of forgot about it, and it was forgot about it. I mean, like in the span of like a second, because like the pit stops are about 8 to 10 seconds long, right? To change 4 tires and fuel. And I launch, and the water bottle falls back in the cockpit and like knocks me in the head. And like, oh darn it! And then I threw it out, but I'm sure I was through the next pit box by the time it left the cockpit.
Yeah. It was very casual. We were all very impressed of how relaxed you must have been, because you put it up and then you peeled out of the pits. It was like you'd done it all before. It was awesome. So
that was funny. So, question: why not pit boards? So they actually used to use pit boards at Indy, which, if anybody doesn't know, that's basically like those advertising boards you see on the side of the road where they can put the letters in and like make a sentence. Basically that, but it's really a small handheld version.
Yeah.
And you'd have a guy on the inside of the pit wall stick it out onto the track, and then they can see pit, or I don't know, P car number maybe, or like pit. I don't really know what
special signal. You didn't do it very
codes,
much.
Right?
Some codes between different teams, mainly laps to go, gap to the guy in front of you, gap to the guy behind, and maybe what the fastest lap is if it was qualifying or something like. Then nobody's allowed on pit wall anymore.
It's a safety thing now, so they don't do it anymore. Which I think the last time, because I know I've seen them in person at Indy at the 500.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So probably 2012, 2013 maybe was the last years they might have been allowed.
I remember I had them, and I think 2009 was the last time I raced the 500, and that we had pit boards. I mean, you never really used them because you're going down. They have to hang them over the pit wall, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes you're rubbing the pit wall when you're trying to overtake. So a lot of the guys, you see them diving out of the way. It was kind of amusing. As a driver,
scary for the guy holding the pit part. Imagine you're right there, the IndyCar going by at 230 miles an hour.
You're not the youngest of people that get loud out there, so they're generally the old boys of the team.
That's funny.
Got some more comments?
Yeah. So actually, we're gonna. What about rain? Do you like to race in the rain? Yeah, and I have a good amount of experience in the rain and Indy Lights. You know, probably I mean not a lot, but probably a handful of races in the rain. It's not, the circuits and the series in North America tend to be conservative on their decision making as far as whether you run or not.
Yep.
And I think and it could be a fact that a lot of the older road courses just don't have the irrigation, have the drainage to kind of get rid of the water. So it can get to a point where it's not safe pretty quick. But yeah, we definitely race in the rain and love that. The Lights rain tires were notoriously hard, so I'm really fingers crossed that the Firestones are a better rain tire.
And all the IndyCar drivers think the IndyCar tires are really hard and terrible.
I'm sure it'll feel better compared to what I'm used to.
But you're like everything. You're the guy that's like, this is great.
I have no preconceived notion, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of funny listening to you and Charlie in the engineering room. He's complaining about everything, and you're like, "This is great."
This car's so much better than
what you're complaining about.
Yeah. But yeah, so then talking about qualifying, we got a couple highlights from the qualifying that we can show. Here we go.
Yeah. Here across 21 counties in the state of Indiana.
Dalton Kellett here, driving for AJ Foyt. This is his first race for the team, so he's out there getting experience on the reds. He'll probably do red run, just try to do the best he can. Right now, he's ahead of Alexander Rossi, which is his shock.
So Jack Harvey, last year's podium place getter. Spencer Piggott, who no longer has a full-time IndyCar ride. He has 2 drives scheduled this year within the Rahal Letterman Lanigan Citroen Buell Autosport team. Marty?
Well, Lee, obviously
Not a nice looking car. Here, hold on.
And she's pretty.
Alexander Rossi with a 1:11.9, and he's down in 11th position. Dalton Kellett of AJ Foyt Racing. Dalton will do, I think, about 8 races this year. He's going to have a good chunk of the season in his rookie year. He's sharing this car along with Tony Kanaan. Tony, of course, in his farewell season in IndyCar. TK did the opening race at Texas a month ago, and will do, I think, 4 more. And then Sebastian Bourdais, I think, is scheduled to do the Portland race. So there's 3 drivers across this number 14 entry for AJ Foyt Racing.
Well, he's done a really nice job so far this qualifying.
Yeah, so there's lots of nice coverage of the number 14 during qualifying. That's always good. And like, PT called it, so we did do 2 back-to-back red runs in that first qualifying run, just to kind of give me that experience, because you don't get the chance to use the Firestone reds really in testing that much. And the big thing really is that the blacks, you probably can get your peak lap, lap maybe 3, 4, 5, probably close to lap 3, 4, but on the reds and qualifying, you really have just that kind of that one, maybe that second lap. And definitely coming from Lights, where you have, what would we be doing, 6, 7 lap qualifying runs, and your fastest lap would be like the last one.
Yeah, exactly. The lower fuel load and the rubber on the track. Most people, it was their very, very last lap. And the other thing about this track as well, right, Dalton? The timing line, it wasn't start-finish line. It wasn't the yard of bricks. It was coming out of turn 10. Yep. Which was literally okay, you've got the first complex, but you come out of the pits and you're basically straight into turn 4. Yeah. You go back straight through 7 and through the S's, and that's the start of the lap. So you've literally got 2 major corners.
Get up and go, yeah.
Before you start your lap. And that was your first qualifying run. So the team were very happy with with what you did, and I think there's still more for you to come. I don't think you got the most out of yourself, to be honest, right? I think there's a lot more to come. So Road America should be a nice jump, just having that experience, right?
Yeah, and that's there's just so many new things on your rookie weekend, and to manage expectations like your rookie year too, right? It's like there's a lot going on that you're gonna have to just learn and adapt to, but the goal is to learn every weekend and every time you go out, and that's gonna be the great thing going into the REV Group Grand Prix at Road America, is that we've got back-to-back races, one day to the next, and qualifying one day to the next, so you can take the lessons that you learn in that first race and qualifying session, and then sleep on it overnight, try to get some rest and recover.
I'm sure you'll sleep, yes.
Go at it again the next day. So we've got two 55-lap races coming up at Road America this weekend, so full-length races basically. I think last year was 56. So, do I like Road America? Yeah, it's a great track. It's definitely one of the classic road courses in the U.S. The setting's really nice, in the hills in Wisconsin, and it's like it feels like a road. Like it's 4.5 miles long. It's like where am I going? I'm going somewhere, right? It's Road America.
A lot of straights, exactly. No, it's a tough one. It's going to be like we were just talking about this lap. 2 corners and you're into your first qualifying lap. Road America, you've got 4 miles to do before you start your first qualifying lap. They do have the timing line right before you pit, kind of similar to what they've done with IndyCar, so you don't have to do a full cool down lap to go into the pit. It's a bit of a waste of time. But you might have to go slow on that out lap for 2 or 3 thirds of it, and then buggy at the end, right? So it'll be a different one, but you like Road America. You've driven an IndyCar there before a few years ago,
28 DHL car back when I was doing lights with Andretti, so I got a half-day test there. That was my second time in an IndyCar. So that was pretty fun back in the open cockpit days. It seems weird looking at that as like a thing of the past now. It's like I wonder, 10 years, 20 years down the line, are we going to look at the open cockpit cars and be like, wow, that was crazy.
What were they thinking?
What were we doing?
Well, we do look back to some of the cars that I drove.
That's what I'm thinking about.
The cockpits were kind of shoulder height. You didn't even having the headrest I remember that was a new deal for us. The head protection where the sides of the cockpit covered most of your helmet, and that was like a norm for you in everything, I'm sure.
Yeah. I think the first Formula Ford I drove didn't have a head surround. That was pretty much the only car I ever. And I do remember because one time at Mosport turned in like kind of the tight 5A 5B, I went into the wall sideways. I think I tangled up trying to pass someone, and then hit gravel trap, and then side impact member, and like my head banging off the side of the car, without
any padding,
head pad.
But now you've got that and the aero screen, the halo. It's we were just talking about it before we come in here when we were rolling through these images. Now that all the cars have got decals and designs on them, I think they look kind of pretty to me. I
like them. Yeah. I think teams have done really cool stuff with the liveries. Like, ours have more of the black, like so the aero screen's its own thing. But some teams are kind of blending them in, like Rosenquist or Passionose cars, or like it's all one color. So no, it's kind of it adds creativity. It can add something that the livery designers can use to make new creative stuff. I think it's cool.
Very much so.
Yeah, MF 1422. Looking back at some of the cars from the '60s, those with the lap belts, those cars were crazy, and I don't think we'll look back at these cars like 20 years from now with that same difference in like, wow, that was crazy, because it's it's
unless there's airbags and
something absurd happens and like. I remember seeing like a movie once, and it was like a race car scene, like a future thing, and they had like a ejection pod thing or something.
Well, I've done a lot of vintage racing after I stopped IndyCar racing and some historic races back at the Goodwood Festival of Speed, and there's some pictures around the track of old Formula One cars that had lap belts on, no seat belts, leather helmets, and they wanted the driver to be thrown out of the car. They didn't want the driver to be collected in the car, like get him out of there and like let him like roll down the grass by himself. But I think the speeds have gone so high,
it's not a feasible.
That's not something that we want to be want to be trying.
Do it anymore. Yeah.
But the track safety, looking at the back, we've talked about it a lot, right? You know, in the future, are we going to see like Perspex, you know, bulletproof, thick 6-inch glass, the safer barriers up higher, and the grandstands all set up higher? That type of thing, I think, will be a.
Well, I think even looking at, you know, we were watching the NASCAR race on Sunday, the Brickyard, because, you know, last weekend at GMR Grand Prix was the first ever IndyCar NASCAR doubleheader with the Brickyard 400 occurring on Sunday, and the Xfinity race on the road course, which was a hoot to watch. Those guys were just banging and rubbing. And
we've got to tell everybody how much slower than they were than IndyCar. Though.
It did look like they were in slow motion. Like it looked like what? It's like
they were like 20-25 seconds a lap slower on a 70-second lap. Yeah. It was pretty, and they've got more horsepower than us as well. But we won't give them 3 times as much. They're stock cars. We'll give them We'll give them a break.
But the you know, looking at it was the leader who was leading the crash.
Harvick, I think he ended up. Oh no, Hamlin.
Hamlin, his front right went down, and he went into the outside wall in turn 1. So you know that impact looked hard enough as it was, but you know thank the teams that developed the safer barriers, because those kind of crashes, you know, without the safer barrier would have been not great. So no, definitely lots of advances in safety. Looking at some questions now. What improvements is the team working on to make the car faster? Well, I don't want to give away any secrets for this weekend. Hoping we have a couple aces in the hole. But no, we've benchmarking ourselves against, you know, the competition and against the 4 cars, so we know where we think we can improve. And you know, Darren and I have been down at the shop, checking with the engineers, seeing what they're working on, and kind of giving them our perspective. And I think we have some good ideas to take into that hour-and-a-half practice that we're going to try out. And if they work out, that should be a good performance advantage for us. And then from my end, it's just, you know, keep improving technique and learning and gaining experience. That's kind of how we're going to attack it.
Both sides, right? I mean, to say we pretty much felt we were about a second off on blacks, reds, and race pace. But if you can find half a second, you're going to be in the top 15 or top 10. Yeah. So a little bit in the car and a little bit in you, and you're jumping up several spots. I think there's a lot more potential from where we're coming from the team. They had a lot of changes over the winter, didn't they, with engineering? They've run Sebastian Bourdais a few times in the car, and he kind of liked it. But
they definitely put together a good program. I think it's pretty exciting. Am I in both races? Yes, I am doing both races this weekend. So that's going to be fun. That'd be pretty hard to switch guys overnight. But did I know that Nick Latifi and I had our say? Yeah, so it was Nick Latifi's Formula One debut on was it Saturday afternoon? No, it was Sunday morning.
Sunday morning,
Sunday morning. And we actually raced go-karts together, started around the same time. I think Nick's maybe a year or two younger than me. And I kind of grew up going through the Canadian karting ranks together. So Nick's a great guy, and if you're a Formula One fan, definitely cheer him on, fellow Canadian.
He's done pretty well in F2 and things. I'm sure he was watching his fellow Canadian in his IndyCar debut, just like you were watching him.
Got to support each other, right? Are both Foyt teams in Indy, or now is one of them still in Texas? Yeah, the 4 car is still based in Texas, with the 14 car in Indy, and that's, you know, they're making that work, and it's going well for them. So that's
they're both there right now, though, aren't they?
Right now they're both there
on this short time frame, and I think that works well. And if there was more races down in Texas or that kind of area, like, you know, where to save the Indy crew coming back to Indianapolis and then, you know, prepping the car and then going to another race, the 14 car and crew could stay down there, right? Just like the 4 car. It's probably going to spend the majority of time, since there's a lot more Midwest and East Coast races.
But so that's kind of the rundown of how the weekend went. You know, like I said, I thought it was a good debut. Really excited for this weekend. It looks like it'll be maybe 10 degrees Fahrenheit cooler, so that'll be nice. It'll still be hot and still be physical. But expecting good things from the Foyt team this weekend. Definitely follow us along. Check out mine and the team's social media: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. It's at Dalton Kellett and AJ Foyt Racing IndyCar. We'll all be posting updates as the weekend goes on. And before we leave, we've been doing our merch giveaways. So and I should make a note because the guy that won last week hasn't responded back yet. Let me just get his name, just in case he's watching. Do you remember who it was that won? It was Corey something. Corey Rexford. You have a Foyt hat and a DK shirt and sticker waiting here for you. So
get back in touch. Anybody know him? Get him to
check
get
your
back.
Instagram DMs, or if I can find you on Facebook or something, I'll try to shoot you a message. This week we have a DK hat. We got a white one, or you can have the black one like Darren's got. That's up to whoever wins. And where'd it go? We have a couple of AJ Foyt Racing tees that the team donated in a few sizes. We got some black ones and some white ones. So that's the prize pack for this week. I'll be putting out I put out the contest post early in the week, and we got a good number of entries. So let's go ahead to our contest choosing spreadsheet, and we'll choose the winner. Let me just share my screen on this thing.
The random locator.
Yeah.
We've got to find a name for your spreadsheet working out there, Dalton, as well. So I
contest chooserator is funny.
Yeah. Oh, the chooserator. There you go. You've got it already.
See, I still have to use Excel. We have 30. How many entries do we have? 38.
And everybody notice how Dalton is in control of all this and not me. I still have a pen and paper.
This sheet even has a VLOOKUP thing. There we go. Corey L 29. It's not the same. It's not the same Corey. It's a different username.
That's
all right,
awesome.
Corey L 29. What platform is that on? That's number 36. Corey L. That was on Instagram.
Awesome.
All right, I will be in touch.
And the competition for next week.
We'll have some more merch some more merch items that we're going to be giving out. So I will post on Instagram and Twitter. And the way this works, if anyone isn't sure, I'll put out a post probably maybe Monday, just so doesn't get lost in all the race weekend stuff. I'll pin it to my Twitter. So it's the first post to see, and it'll be one of the Instagram posts. And basically, you can comment, like it, but when you comment, tag 2 of your friends, and that'll gain you an entry. And then everyone that participated in the chat on on tonight's episode is already entered for next week's contest. And you can do all 3 and get 3 entries, or you can do 1 of each and get 1. So you can increase your odds by participating across platforms. Oh, Corey 5_6. There you go. You're a winner. So congratulations. All right. Do you want the white hat? Do you want the white K-line hat or the black one like Darren's got? So it's got the AJ Foyt DK logo,
and the Chevy
14 on the back there.
Anytime.
Let us know. I will send you a DM and we can figure out the details. I'll send this stuff off to you.
That's even better.
AJ Foyt t-shirt as well. So next time you're at the racetrack, you'll have to be rocking these. Thanks.
I like it. That's me. I like it, Corey. Good work, fella.
Good job, Corey. Thanks for entering.
And everybody. That's great. That was a good night. That was a lot of comments. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thanks, everyone. All right, we will talk to y'all next week, 8 p.m. We'll go out. We'll let you know how things went at Road America. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Later.